What's your first memory of entrepreneurship? Before we get into Foundxrs Club, just tell me about your journeys as starting off as entrepreneurs. A lot of people actually even know or talk about failures that much. And actually, I think that's the source. That's the stuff makes it magical, right?
I think a lot of people talk about that and they say that you learn more from failure than you do from any success.
Someone's watching this and their business is doing 50K, 100K a year, or even if they're doing a million yeah, what do you think they do differently to go to be, rather than in a 100K or £1 million business, to be in a 10 million, 100 million pound business?
Number one, they will move very quick. And number two, they are decisive.
If someone's watching this immediately after this finishes and they're going to take one action and it's going to put money in their bank for their business, what would you say that could be?
I would say 2 actions spring out.
As someone that supports others, could you do me a favor and double check if you are subscribed to this channel? That would be tremendously appreciated, as it's the free thing that anybody that watches this show frequently can do to help me keep everything going, to keep this show on the trajectory it's on. So please do double check if you're subscribed to the channel, and thank you so much, because in a strange way, you're part of our history and you're on this journey with me. So yeah, thank you. All right, Sonny, KP, my boys, here you are. Right, look, before I dive into this, I learned a new question a little while back, and it's been one of my favorite questions to ask people. Because even people that I know, I didn't know this stuff. So the question is this: if I'd only just met you, what's something that I would never guess about you?
It's a very good question.
It's a beauty, isn't it? Go.
That I'm really into religion and spirituality.
Really? I knew you were, but you've gotten deeper into it.
It's always been there, but I don't talk about it that much. But yeah, that's one of my 3 things I'm always into is food, business, and super into spirituality and religion.
Really? Yeah. Really? What about you? What was the question? It was, if I just met you, what's something that I would never guess about you?
I'm the fat brother, but he's the unhealthy brother.
And I say that because when people look at me and say they're like he must do this, or he doesn't go to the gym, or he doesn't do that, he must eat this. But actually, it's like he's the foodie, right? He's the one you want to go fried chicken, this fried chicken, the drinking, he's obviously he's a bigger drinker than I am. So actually, there's a big difference. That's probably the one thing.
So you eat better than he does?
I wouldn't say, I think we probably, our diets are not perfect, 100%.
Right.
But I probably eat 1/3 of what he eats.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Quantity,
really?
I probably eat 1/3 of what he eats.
Yeah, because this guy's a beast. You see him in action.
You want to see him on a Friday night or a Saturday morning after a big Friday, though, And so
I remember when we were in Dubai and, Hoos, Big Hoos. Shout out to Hoos.
Big Hoos.
He basically had to plan an itinerary to make sure this guy was fed. I imagine if it was in the 17th century, this guy had the platters coming out to every food, making sure that he's fed.
He's still, we're grown ass men, right? But with loads of teenagers around us, but he still gets hangry. When he has a meat fade, he still get hangry.
It's a problem for me. It's so bad to the point where when we go to Nando's, everyone's finished and I'm still sitting there eating. And then my girls are starting to shout at me. They're like, why does this always happen? Why are we still saying, I bet they're saying he has to leave without him, It's bad, but I like to enjoy it, like fine wine,
but it's one of life's best pleasures. If we don't stop to enjoy food, then it's so easy to just, especially when you're in business, which we'll dive into. But when you're so busy and there's so much going on, it's one of those moments where you have to, if you really pause and enjoy it, is that the best thing in the world?
Yeah,
it is the best thing in the world.
Absolutely.
So diving into business, before we get into Foundxrs Club, just tell me about your journeys as starting off as entrepreneurs, because I know you did stuff together, but you also had your own independent journeys as well. What's your first memory of entrepreneurship?
Shall I start?
Yeah,
mine was actually when I was in college. It might have been actually earlier, but the first one that I can recall was when I was in college.
Okay.
And I remember going to Petticoat Lane on a Sunday. I went with my very good friend Vip, and I bought this watch, and it was a It was a Tag replica watch. Right. And I bought it, lovely, really, really. And Tag had these kind of the links on the watch were very distinctive. So I bought that into college. And a few of the guys at college were like, bro, love your watch, man. You know, cool. And I must have bought it maybe about, I don't know, £15, right, something like that. And the guy said, oh, listen, how much you want? I'll buy it off you. Yeah. I said, £40. Right. So I said, dude, right? I'm like, and then over the coming weeks, people were like, you know, oh my God, that watch really, really lovely. Because it was very distinctive, the color, links and everything, right? To the point where basically every other Sunday, Vip and I would go back to Petticoat Lane and negotiate the price of the watches. Because by this time, down to about £8. No way. And I was selling them for about £45 at college.
No way.
To the point where basically I saturated the market. As in that 80% of the guys around college walking around with saying watches. The only difference was the dial. Oh, it's a different color. The black one was right on the green, right? You know, I think that's the first kind of entrepreneurial shit I can think of. Like,
what and was that like? Was that just like a happy coincidence, like a happy accident, or was it something that you were always interested in?
So I actually, on a serious note, so Sunny and I. Yeah, we're raised by a single mum. We grew up in a 2-bedroom council house, so we didn't have much growing up. Yeah. And I've always been a very, very big believer in poverty breeds opportunistic characteristics.
Poverty breeds
opportunistic characteristics.
Sorry, why is that on that one?
A few years ago, when there was the riots in Croydon, you know, the local councillors and the politicians and everyone was saying, oh, it's because they've got nothing to do. It's got, you know, but it wasn't that. That wasn't the case. Actually, what it was is that when people are walking past and someone smashed a window, right? Why are people running in and grabbing stuff? All of a sudden is it right? Of course not. But that opportunity was there. So people are running in, grabbing stuff because it's free, you know? Yeah. So, and I think also what happens when you grow up without much, you tend to see what others don't see. So,
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So, you know, you'll see something where, and I guess a lot of kind of businesses that stem from this, but also we come from an entrepreneurial family that our grandfather,
right,
you know, ran his own perfume factory in India, and you know,
oh really? I didn't know that. Huge. Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, a huge factory. So we come from that kind of, I guess.
How have I known you this long? And I'm only just like,
yeah, I guess, you know, when it's some stories that I guess, you know, come out in your thought process, but yeah, that's absolutely right. And I've never really spoken about that a lot, but yeah.
I had no idea. That's a really interesting.
Yeah. But it's interesting you say that because, you know, like even for me about the poverty side, not that we never had much money growing up, but we were never made to feel like we were poor.
Yeah.
My mom, it actually, some of my friends would say, like, are you rich? You know, they'll quickly find out when they came to my house. But it was just because my mom would work hard and she'll try and do her best. However, there were certain issues that as a, you know, teenager growing up, it would be a problem. Like, you know, when it was time to get new trailers, my mum had a very tight budget for it. She didn't understand what the rules of the playground, right? She didn't understand Nike and basically. So she was like, you know, you've got a budget of £30. Right. I'm like, Mum, you know, I can only buy like Ascot or like, you know, one of their like high-ten, right? Mix one of those. I'm like, Mum, that can't happen. And she's like, well, that's my budget. And so, you know, I'll be like, all right, I'll wait a little while. What my mum obviously wouldn't know is when I'm at school, I would get like £5 for the week's lunch, right? But I wouldn't eat. So I would save that £5 up. And then out of the necessity to say, right, I really want to get these trainers, but they're like, you know, £60, £70.
Yeah.
So I would sell stuff, you know, and similar to like KP, it started off with like selling like thick designer clothes, right? If we're going to put it straight. And then I would run these parties, right? And so all of my like high school mates would know me for like, you know, doing stuff like that and throughout college. And I'll be running like regular nights, had a promotional company at the time. But that was just like, in order to buy certain stuff, I wanted to get a car. I had to work 2 different jobs while trying to do my A-levels and run events. Because there was no other way to fund it. My mom didn't have the capacity or the capability to ever say, here you go. Even though she would have loved to, but
But imagine what that would have taken away from you boys if she had just given it to you.
Absolutely.
Like that switch to go and figure out your own problems, like that would never have been turned on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would get it. Of course, 100%. Yeah, I think you learn a lot. You learn a lot of independence. Right from the get go.
And what did you pick up from subconsciously? I suppose that as you get older, like you dive into what makes you as you try and better yourself. Like, what do you think you picked up from your mom that's helped you guys today?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? For my mum, it's different, and I've got a twofold part in it. For my mum, she's just a very hard worker. She's not entrepreneurial at the slightest. She's not a risk taker at the slightest. She's just a very honest, God-fearing woman who, just believes in do the right thing. She's a very hard worker, so she'll work 5 days a week and on the weekends just to put food on our table.
So the work ethic
was definitely there. She's not lazy at all. And she had a really nice community around her because she's also quite sociable. But I think also where I did learn a lot from was KP, right? Because as under this 4.5 year gap, so when I'm 7 or 8 or 9, I see he's a hustler, right? So he's out there doing what he needs. So subconsciously, I'm also picking that up and saying, you know what? Let's come home making £20, £30, all right? So very quickly, it used to be things like, when Mike Tyson used to be fighting, we used to get my mum to go out, right? And we used to, one of our mates at Burger King. So he would come to the house. He would have all this Burger King stock he's frying up. Entry is £5 into the house, right? And so there would be a house a fight night. So anytime there's a fight night, it's always a big thing for us. There would literally be 40 guys right at my house, and even those fights are in Vegas. They're coming on at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So there's people lying half knocked out. But it was just those moments where he's like, right, I'm going to sell this man, you're going to sell this man to your mates, So it was just that kind of a thought process. So growing up,
the worst part of those things was you charging people £5 right for this. And you're giving my bagel as well. Don't get me wrong. I started include food as well. I love it. And what would happen is the fight would come on, and sometimes when Mike Tyson's fighting, round one, got duck. And then a couple of times people would say, "Can I get a refund?" Because it's that's nothing. It's called Mike Tyson.
Oh, that's amazing. So okay, that's really interesting because I feel like, and we'll get into it, but I feel like those early experiences of bringing people together, hosting these events, probably fuels a lot of what you boys do now with Foundxrs, right?
I think so. I think with Foundxrs, it became, there was a change in direction, and it wasn't as if, to be fair, we came up with the idea off the bat. It was actually through Asian Wealth magazine. And then we had this great following. But we were asking ourselves the question, what more is there?
Right.
What more is there? It's great through Asian Wealth, obviously, we went to great parties. We hosted great parties with choots and glasses at the events. We've come home, and the next day you go back to work and it's the same thing. We asked, well, actually, what is the value that people are getting? And one thing that we did realize is actually the value of people interaction. And then when COVID kicked in, that just supercharged everything. The inability for humans to interact.
It's funny because, if you ask us how the creation was created, even though we both have a kind of similar view, but they're quite different because we're looking at it through two different lenses, right? For me, I just found that most of our revenue would come in from the brands, right? That would partner, that would advertise, and that we were doing a lot of events for these brands. And so to get those brands in, it wasn't easy. It was hard work, right? Because you're trying to get through to the marketing director of I don't know, Jaguar Land Rover, right? And they're being inundated with opportunities, right? So just to get through the front door could take a long time. Then when we've got that audience, then to get to be fair, once we had them sitting around the table, very often they would close, right? But it was just hard getting through the front door. So generating bigger and bigger business was not easy. And really, what were they paying us for? They were paying us for the value of our network. And then at the time, we were like, wouldn't it be great if rather than concentrating on the brands, we could concentrate on the network that we already have, because that's our USP, and actually add value to that network, right? And if we could turn it inwards, then the brands will come anyway, which, they have done. But that's always been the core focus. Say, let's focus on that. Everything else will work itself out.
And then once that decision was made, and obviously we had that, I can't remember if there were any like founder digital events or communications about founders during COVID. I don't remember.
So we actually launched in July 2020.
Okay.
Digitally, we had to. Yeah. So, we sold the dream.
Right.
Initially.
Right.
I think we had some great supporters who believed in us. Yeah. Believed in Sunny and I. And they'd seen what we'd done with Asian Wealth, and they were like, okay, wherever you guys go, we're coming.
Right.
We believe in you. So, because at that time, we're just telling you, dude, this is what we are creating. Yeah. We want you to jump on board. But because of lockdown, we couldn't do anything in person. Yeah. So there was a few, I remember one of the first ones that we did was with, my good friend, Watch Anish. And he'd moved to Cyprus. Okay. So we did an online Zoom event where I think we might have even had 20, 30 people online. And he was obviously sitting in Cyprus, but we did it all over Zoom. We were working with Investec, and one of their clients was this English sparkling wine company. So they'd sent out sparkling wine to all the members. At the time we only had probably about 30, 40 members. But they sent it out to, I think, 20 of the members.
Right.
And then we hosted a wine tasting over Zoom. So that's how things were done. I mean, everyone, like you do kind of whatever you thought. Yeah, whatever. So initially it was digital, but then I think after lockdown was lifted, we still did a few online events, but then we realized actually there was one event specifically that we did online, which was terrible.
Oh, really?
It's terrible. Half the cameras were off. Some people just didn't, there's a lot of people who just didn't turn up.
Right.
And Ruchi was with us at the time. And then, Ruchi said, we should consider just dumping online events. Right. Only because, it also become culture. People, that whole Zoom fatigue. The culture had gone into like you could join a Zoom call, but just keep your camera off.
Yeah.
You
didn't really have to participate. You didn't have to not,
yeah. So it was like
consumption.
Yeah. And at that point we said, we said, right, okay, no more Zoom events, no more digital events.
And then what was like, what would you say was the first? Because the events now are like fantastic. Like they're incredible experiences.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
that. What's being created is magic. Like when you're there. Like the friendships, the connections, the opportunities, like it's an amazing experience to be a part of. But what would you say after lockdown was the first, I don't know, like the blockbuster event or the launch event that really kind of clicked the dream that you sold into this is the reality? Do you remember what that was?
There's been so many events. I'm just trying to think back. Like, that one was like,
I don't even remember the first event. Oh, you really? I do remember the main digital event.
So do I. So I wrote that one. Yeah, the Q&A with Mike Tyson. Yeah, that we had. But then the main one thereafter. God,
I don't remember. I don't remember the first.
Oh, really?
I mean, you guys have done that last year alone. 2024, we done 72 events. 72 is then in 2024. So if you can imagine 23, 22, 21.
Yeah.
So how many events? This year will probably tip it around, I'm saying between 70 and 80.
You know what does happen until what does happen is that post event, sometimes we will always assess, not every single event, but some of the larger ones where we have like guest speakers or it's a different format. We would always, do you remember we used to go the night after, we used to go into like the spa, right? And we will like go into the steam room and the chicken, and then we will just debate the event and what was the good parts of it, what could we have done better. And there are some events where we've come out of and we've not been happy. We've been like, we missed the mark on that for whatever reason.
Like, what's an example of like an event?
Maybe because sometimes you can get someone who's achieved really well in business, right? But they're not naturally an amazing speaker, or they're able to connect so well, or, you know, perhaps the venue setting wasn't right, or the mic wasn't working properly, some people at the back couldn't hear, you know, it could be a whole host of different things, right? So, and sometimes when a few of those things click in,
when they all happen at the same
when they're happening at the same time, you just, you know, you lead that, you know what, it's a feeling that you get, you feel, how did I feel, right? And that
other people must have felt the same.
Correct, right? And then sometimes you come out of the event and we're like, wow, that was spectacular, you know, like, I mean, just recently, we done one with Suringa and Sanjay. We were at their hotel and we took some of our members. And, you know, I came out of that event and we got a lovely one. We got a quite an intimate Q&A, and it was just the crowd around the table were a great group of individuals. And, you know, you sit back and you think like, wow, what an amazing event. And actually, it was a privilege just to be on the table, sit around and, you know, be in that company. And so sometimes you come by and say, we smashed that one, right?
And so when you're, okay, let me ask you this then, because one of the amazing things I think about what you guys do is, aside from the connections individuals can make, like you both connecting with not only millionaires, but billionaires and people who are just operating at a completely different level. Like, what would you say stands out to you both about people that operate at that level? Like what's I don't know what the difference is. How do they think different, act different, speak differently? What is it about them that makes them different to everyone else?
So I think there is this misconception, you know, that if you are successful, if you are wealthy, you know, then you're not human. You're not, you know. So the first thing was always like the one thing as over the years sat with some amazing people, you realize they're human. Yeah. Actually, they deal with the same problems that we do, maybe just on different levels. Okay. You know, I remember hosting a dinner once, and one of our guests is a very, very successful entrepreneur, you know, multi-millionaire, hundreds of millions. He has no way falls into. And he came up to me and he said, KP, and this is just before I was there. KP, how do I look? Do I look okay? Like,
right, hello,
and it just made me smile. I said, listen, bro, you're fantastic. Yeah. And it just made me think that it doesn't matter who you are. You people still have insecurities. Everyone has insecurities, right? So they still have that. But I think there is this inherent hunger to do. I just had a coffee with someone earlier, before I came here, and he exited his business a few years ago for about 10 million. And now he's setting up another business. And I was asking him why. And he said, there's a couple of reasons. He goes, one, because I was getting bored, right? You know, you disagree, you're just not doing it. Yeah. But he said, I also wanted to challenge myself, and could I do it? And this is the second time I've heard this, where entrepreneurs they'll sell one business, but part of them, and they might sell it for however much, but there's a part of them kind of wondering themselves, did I just get lucky? Right, man. So for them, it's like doing it again to kind of prove to themselves, to prove to themselves that actually, no, it was me and my skills and my assets, not just luck, you know? So there's a lot of things.
What would you say, like tangibly, like if someone's watching this and their business is doing 50K, 100K a year, or even if they're doing $1 million a year, what do you think they do differently to be, rather than being a 100K or £1 million business, to be in a 10 million, 100 million pound business? And what would you say?
I'll tell you like the common traits that I've seen that probably runs through in most of them, if not all of them. Okay. Is number one, they will move very quick. Right. So
I've heard this.
Yeah, they all move very
quick. Like, what do you mean by that? Like quick?
So, you know, like, for example, I mean, I'm guilty of this, right? We're all like, we all are, right? Where we sit on a decision, you're umming and ahhing and you're not sure about, you know, what should be done. You're kind of overanalyzing something, right? And it stops you from taking that action.
So would they do it like there and then on the day they'll take a decision?
Yeah, I mean, I've sat with them sometimes and we've spoken about something, right? And then the next morning, I've got like an email to set up a call to make things move forward. And I'm like, whoa, we just had that conversation last night. Right, it's like, in my mind, it's still circulating about it, but they're ready to like, you know, to move on it. So I think once they, in their mind that they know, right, okay, this can work, they don't dilly-dally around.
So when they make the decision, they're rapid in the execution.
is number one.
At speed.
And number two, I think they are decisive, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of them, whether it's the right or the wrong decision, they stick to it and they push forward with it. And a lot of the time they go with their gut, so it's not an over analysis. And I'll give you a view on this, right? I remember sitting with an entrepreneur who, an amazing story. He was actually a milkman at one point in his time.
No way.
Yeah, and he's grown his business into a massive multi-million pound turnover business, right? Now it's in the kind of construction sector, like where he provides a lot of like raw materials. Yeah. He's got plants, he's got machinery. And so when I was speaking to him, and he was just telling me about how many failures he's had along the way, and then he was talking to me about like what he does now. He provides all this construction material. And I was like, how's your like, what about your marketing? You're creating this product, right? And you're going to buy this machinery for like £2 million, and you're going to, how many guys you've got selling the team? How does your promotional work? And he's like, don't worry about any of that. I just sell cheaper than everyone else, right? And I'm like, like, it was just, I'm trying to overcomplicate. Like, oh, what about your campaign? What about this? What about that? And actually, in his mind, he was like, everything else will figure it out. If I'm producing a good enough product and it's cheaper than my competitors, people will come to me and I'll sell it, right? So in a way, it was just like, yes, of course, if you can get the right product. Do you see what I mean? So it's just like, yeah. Sometimes some of those simplicities where it's not overcomplicating something. He knows about it. He knows there's demand. He knows he's got to get the price down. He knows it will sell. Simple.
The other thing I've learned from other people, successful people, is they're always on that path of growth, always challenging themselves and say, actually, what don't I know? I mean, we have a very close friend. He's kind of a mentor, like an older brother to us. Lives in Dubai now, but when he comes over, we'll always grab lunch or dinner, and we're always kind of in awe of what he's putting his hand to and what he's trying and what he's learning. And this guy's net worth is in the hundreds of millions.
No way.
Hundreds of millions. So this guy, and I think people have this misconception that once you are at that level, you're basically just sitting around putting your feet up and doing nothing. But actually, when you got to that level, it's taken you some level of tenacity to get to that.
Yeah.
And that becomes ingrained in you. So you can't just all of a sudden switch off.
Yeah.
So what happens is that you still maintain there, and you constantly keep learning. You constantly trying new things. So there's quite a few different facets to.
It's funny because I sit there sometimes. Look at my own businesses and the things that I'm doing. I'm grateful for the life I have, and then I just question, what am I missing? Like, what is it about me that I need to change to take me to that next level? And like sometimes you might be on that path already. Other times you don't know. Like, I'm always just fascinated to. I don't think there is this magic pill. There's probably the basics, like you're saying. Look, move quickly, be decisive, simplify. Always on a growth path. These are simple things that anyone can do every single day.
Yeah.
But we probably don't.
And I think that self-analysis is a good thing. That, I think that, right? And I think a lot of people think that actually, I think the moment you stop thinking that's probably when you're in a bit of trouble, right? Because you want to continuously improve, right? To say that actually, what am I missing? What can I do better? So I think it's a good thought, right? I think not to be too overly critical. So you're putting yourself down. I think you've got to, keep yourself always geared up.
Yeah. But I remember at the Nick Bassi event, someone asked him a question, do you think you are successful? And he said, no, I don't think I'm successful. Well, what do you mean? Like, you got the biggest luxury kids brand in the world. Like, how can you not think? He goes, no, I just don't think I've achieved anything yet.
A lot of them think that.
Yeah, I say that sometimes, and you get funny looks, but I don't think I've achieved anything yet. But it's good. It was good to hear like someone so way ahead of where I am saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a moment like when you've sat with someone and you've instantly changed based on what they've said or the way in which they conducted themselves?
I don't think it's instant. I mean, there's many times Sonny and I are, out to lunch or dinner with these people, and after the dinner, we'll always look at each other and say, wow, we'll know immediately. We won't even say, well, we'll know that what impact that person has had Well, you're on U-boat on both of us. Yeah, on both of us. And we'll try and. So we've got again a lovely guy, VJ, and he's like our parents' generation, right? He's lovely guy. He celebrated his 75th birthday last year. He's a billionaire.
Wow.
He's a billionaire. Him and his brother are they're in the pharmaceutical background, and we sit down together for lunch and dinner, and for him it's just a great time catching up. Right. But for Sonny and I, we're like this. We're see there because and a couple of times we said to him, you don't realize when you're just telling us stories, that's what it is in your mind.
Yeah.
But for us, it's wisdom. And actually, you're telling us such. So he was telling us stories of how Indians came over in the 70s, and he goes that you would find two types of people. You'd find those who had a sweet shop, corner shops, convenience stores, and then you'd find those who actually had a few of them. Right? He goes, there was a big transition because you'd open one shop, and then what would happen is that people would make that one shop a success, and then they go and open up number two. But then when you open up number 10, that's the hardest space to be. Whether it was a pharmacy, whether it was a sweet shop, whether it was something else, that opening up the second place was the hardest space because you could only be in one place at a time.
Right.
You would hire someone who wasn't trustworthy, that would steal from you. And then most people would crumble at that, say, forget it, dump it, let's go back to what we know and just enjoy that one. But if those people who are able to stick at it, identify the problems, fix the problems,
right,
then went from 2 to 4 to 10 to 15, and those people then figured it out,
or because they figured out the problem, they figured out the scalability problem.
If you haven't got the right staff in your shop number 2, then you figure it out. You kind of tried it out in shop 2 and shop 3. By the time you got to shop 5 and 6,
right,
you fixed it.
Right.
You know where the problems are.
Right.
So they don't even happen because you know what to implement.
Right.
So but most people give up before that stage of
So they try and once and then
so all of us growing up, we will know, uncles and aunts and these people who had sweet shops, but they either had one shop, or they had 3, 4, 5, 6 shops, right? And so just learning those things by sitting with people like that and having conversations, it just makes us think, really.
Yeah, so I don't think, just going back to that, I don't think it's an instant change, but I think it takes a little while to just seep through, and and sometimes it's not even something they said, but it's that whole story, like even just this morning we were having breakfast with 2 lovely cousins and one of their sons, and these guys are just, as we walked out there, I was like, oh my God, what an amazing story, right?
What was the story though?
It was just, they came to this country, and really they started their business like in 2015, something like that, 2016.
Oh, some research.
It's like, hey, it's a 10-year business, right? And, they started with convenience stores and they built that up, and then they've gone into like, they bought a business out, right, that was already income generating. And then they've kind of developed that business. And when I mean they've developed it, I mean, it's like looking to float at some point, right? Yeah. I mean, they're just they're grown, and then when they were just telling us the numbers, we were like sitting there saying, what the hell, like,
in 2 years, they'll be turning over 100 million.
No.
Yeah.
Just like retail.
Not just there's a few different ways. But I think they were saying by the end of this year, they'll be turning over 60 million. 70 million.
And when you think about stuff like that, I'm just like, what great. And they were just telling us all these stories of like, and everyone thinks, but you only talk about the heartache that goes with it, but it's great. It just shows you actually, you travel with the right attitude, the right mentality.
What's been one of like the craziest, maybe heartache, or the craziest crumbles, collapses, failures you've heard, like a story that you've heard from like the successful people that you meet, and they've kind of, and how did they come out of it, or how did they turn that around? Like, what's one that stands out to you guys?
Because I don't think a lot of people actually even know or talk about failures that much. And actually, I think that's the source. That's the stuff that makes it magical, right?
I think a lot of people talk about that, and they say that you learn more from failure than you do from any success, right?
So what's one that stands out to you guys? Maybe even your own, or like what stands out to you?
So I think when we slowly phased out Asian Wealth magazine, I think, there was a lot of conversations that Sunny and I had, very closed doors about that, because, there was, we started struggling in the business, because a lot of our advertisers were moving their advertising money to digital. And we had two companies, so we were actually borrowing money from one company to pump into another and in the business, and I've said this lots of times before, that I've always been the emotional one, and I still am. I'm the emotional one. I'm the creative one, and Stanley is very much the analytical, the strategic one. So it was, and I actually remember that conversation. It was in the office in an afternoon, and I remember him saying, we should really consider dumping this. It just doesn't make sense.
What, shouting Foundxrs?
No. Asian Wealth.
Asian Wealth. Okay.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense anymore. It's more vanity than sanity. We are, and the thing is, when you can see light at the end of a tunnel, sometimes you double down and you grit your teeth and say, let's go.
Yeah.
But when you are battling things like the growth of social media, the demise of traditional media, you can see Instagram, you can see, this is in the time before TikTok, it was just Facebook and Instagram. And actually, no, it's Facebook and Instagram was just growing, right? So this is the first 5 years.
Okay.
So, and you can see that people are clocking onto it. But what I started, and it wasn't just affecting us, it affected everyone in the media industry, right? And I think that because from an emotional point, we put in so much blood, sweat, and tears into it. But you are, and then you start having thoughts. Was it me? Was it something that I did? Didn't I do it? Did I do it not in time? Was it something else? Also sometimes, and we're not the first and we won't be the last, sometimes market changes and market shifts will impact businesses. Let's look at the injection of AI.
Yeah.
Is such a big thing now, right? But let's be honest, in 5 years' time, how many businesses are going to have been decimated because of AI?
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's not down to how good or bad that they've run the business. It's just because of the market shift, new innovation. So I think for us, I think definitely for me, probably, there's a lot more, but definitely the demands of Asian Wealth for me.
What about for you?
Yeah, for me, I think, that was a very interesting period. But obviously, as you very well know, I've had my own fair share of problems. And it was such a difficult time because, as you know, obviously we're developing real estate in India, in there doing big projects. And then
that was painful.
Yeah, very powerful, very painful, being involved in large things. There's like 700, 800 units, develop lots and lots of money in these projects. And then getting involved in legal issues, partner disputes, land issues, we lost millions. Right? And it came to a point where for like 2-3 years, I didn't earn any revenue. Right. And I was just surviving on fumes in the end. Right. Very, very difficult time. And even when I think about it, it still is, the battle scars are
fallout.
Yeah. That are there, and, it came to a point where my family was saying, listen, just get a job.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'll get a job. Well, and my wife has done 3 minutes.
Yeah. And just get a job. Like, you've tried, enough is enough now. Do you know what I mean? And there was a point, to be fair, I considered it, but what is my CV going to say? I've been a CEO of a Indian real estate company for like 15 years and now I'm trying to get a job, and what opportunities are there in that sector in the UK? Do you know what I mean? It was, and then obviously, then I thought, right, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to back myself, whatever happens, and I know that I can come out of this, right? And then then even like, working on Asian wealth and trying to bring that up and knowing that, oh God, it's happening all over the cake. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then like, I remember there was one very vivid point where I questioned my existence, right? Entire existence. It came to a point where I remember going all the way, and I'm obviously a South London boy, right? And I remember going all the way to North London.
Yeah.
And to have a meeting with a client, to handle some there. They want to do some, I don't know, promotional content on Asian wealth. And went all the way there. They were late, so I waited like 45 minutes. All right. And then anyway, they came, and they were nice enough and stuff. And they agreed a deal, right? And that deal was like $2,000, right? Or $2,500 over 6 months, right?
Right.
And I remember coming all the way back, and basically I spent the whole day there, right? And in my mind, I was thinking, like, a couple of years ago, I'll be closing like big estate deals. And here I am, spending my whole day traveling all the way up on the train, hot, sweaty, came back closing a $2,000 deal.
Yeah.
A $2,000 deal. And I remember going home that night, and I like looking at like the blank walls, thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing with my life? So there were those points, as dark, difficult points. But,
those are like you really question. I mean, you and I have talked. We go through these moments. We talk about them so much. Like, you really question, like, yourself. Like, oh my God, I don't know if you guys have these thoughts, but it definitely goes through my mind. Like, I'm a letdown. I failed. Like, I'm no good at this. Why am I doing it? Like, all these, you kind of. There's moments where you turn on yourself, and you have to really. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like sadistic, but you have to kind of brush that off. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go again, because you've got nothing else, really. You've got no other options, and you have to just turn up again the next day. And it's this like insane internal battle that goes on in your mind to just pick yourself up and carry on. Like, especially when, I remember like with Mr. Singh's being that low, where the business, like, we'd gone on this huge trajectory, TV, supermarkets, investors, like, it's growing. And then got to a point, it's like we're running out of money. And I'm like, my family is the staff, so I'm paying everyone. I'm not being paid for a year. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, it's crushing. It's crushing. Like, trying to make payroll, trying to build this business. You put this image out of what your business is, and then behind closed doors, it feels like it's falling to pieces. And then you have to, I don't know, you just sign up again the next day, right?
Yeah, but I think it's not just our businesses. I think most businesses do that. I think most businesses, there is that term, fake it till you make it.
Right.
There is, I know that a lot of businesses, they will portray a certain facade. Yeah, behind closed doors is different. And guess what? That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's not something you should shy away from. It's not something you could, but I think what happens is that there is that plan, there is that growth. I mean, do you remember when we had that dinner a couple of years ago, and I can't remember who said it to us, and he was saying that it's a funny thing about being an entrepreneur. You spend most of your time broke. And if you get it right, all of a sudden, you'll get this big fat check with all this money, and you don't know what to do, And he goes, it's a journey for most entrepreneurs, because you'll spend so much time, saying, can I meet payroll? Can I do this? You're pretty much broke most of the time.
That's it, right? Yeah.
But you live in this vision that you're going to get to a point where actually you're going to get more than you need.
Yeah.
And then you kind of balance
It's outside returns.
Yeah, it's the values in the business, right? So, you ask that person, they've got value in the business and they're making it work, and hopefully very few of them get there. But if you can exit at one point, you've cashed in, right? Hopefully at the right levels. But, even 2 years before that cash, and you ask them to put down 50K on the table, they'll struggle with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Right? Because it's just the nature of the game. So
that it's funny. Do you remember like when you were renowned, right? And we saw this flat in Manor Park. We went to see this flat. We're like, yeah, we're gonna buy it. We had no money, right? We had no credit cards. We had no money. We went to see this flat. We're gonna buy it. Yeah. We never ended up buying it. But like, you had this disillusion about how you're gonna just make things happen. And not that many people have it. Like, the more you speak to business people, not that many people actually have that weird ability to see something that doesn't quite exist. And I think the other thing is that journey is a journey that you have to go on to learn how to build a business, because that's the other thing. Like, building a business is a skill.
Yeah.
Like, we can be great at socializing, could be great at sales or marketing, but actually building a business. And I suppose that this is what like the people that you've met, they probably got really great at is they've learned somehow to build great businesses that scale and grow without, like the corner shop guys, they figured out that system that works. But we're never showing that stuff. Like, we've never shown it.
And you have to figure that bit out. And, we always have this conversation. We have to keep reminding ourselves and checking in. And I'm like, when I see him doing something that he's not supposed to be doing, which is quite often, right? I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. And his arm being, so I'm like, what's your God-given strength? and he'll say what it is. And I'm like, exactly, like, focus on that and stop doing this. And he'll have to remind me like those things, right? So it's always that, because you're not going to be amazing at everything. Right. But the difficult part is, of an entrepreneur, you pretty much have to do everything, right? Especially at a certain point in your business.
Yeah, when you've got nothing.
Correct. When you've got nothing, you are everything, right? And so, and even when you then do have a team, you have to then learn about the essence of letting go on certain things. And like, actually, so okay, let me delegate, right? Let me do this, because a lot of the time it's easy, like, by the time I explain something, I'll just do it myself, right?
Yeah.
And so, but unless you go through those processes, you end up doing stuff that is not in your skill set and takes you a lot longer. And then you can't do what, because everyone has their magic special power, right? Yeah. Their superpower. And that's where you've got to spend your time.
Just out of interest, like these people that you sat around the table with, obviously, I invested in business coaching. Like, I calculated the other day, it was like 15K. I invested in business coaching, hundreds, if not thousands of hours, like learning about business, because I actually didn't know what a business was. And this was after the first failure of my business, second, whatever it was. And so, like, I wonder if these people, did they ever talk about having mentors or coaches that they learned from that helped them build their businesses? I think was it just because they grew up, like you said, like your grandparents had, your granddad had like a factory. So it's kind of part of your family.
I think it has happened by default in certain situations, and some people just surround themselves with really, really good people.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, it's about growth. These are people who have got mental growth capacities to say, actually, let's do this, and they'll come across people who will help them.
Right. But do they actively go out and get mentors or coaches, or is it just by?
I think there's a difference from what I've seen, is that the slightly older generation, I've never heard anyone say that, I've got a business coach, or I've got a coach. The only thing that they might have is like a PT, right? But that's it. And a good accountant, right? But definitely the younger generation, right, who are doing some phenomenal things, right, and their businesses are blowing up, they definitely have coaches, and I've seen that. So I think there is also a generational kind of difference in mindset. So yeah, I would say that.
Do you think those older guys, because they were, were kind of forced to do it and forced to figure out, because it was actual pure survival, do you think they just had to just try and fail way more than we do? Or was it a case of they had to try and fail way more than we do, plus they had perhaps like some family or surrounding people that were also in business and new business?
I think the one thing that I've seen time and time again is that those people are not afraid of anything.
How do you mean?
So a lot of us won't try something because sometimes we feel that, how will we come across, or what we're saying come across, or how will that look, but a lot of these people, they'll just come in and they'll bulldoze it, because actually they feel like they've got nothing to lose. But sometimes, you look at them and they're like hugely successful people, but they're still like that. Still, that trait still remains in them. I know this isn't the answer to the question, but there was something I was going to add about. I tell you, one of the biggest things in growth I've found is being self-reflective. Okay, and I think this is the biggest thing. Is actually what happens is that there are a lot of people. It goes back to what Sonny was just saying about, he'll put me in check, or I'll put him in check, and we'll call each other out. on certain things, is because people are not self-reflective and because nobody is good at everything.
Yeah.
But what happens is when somebody is not, and I'm smiling because there is this running joke now. Call me Victor. Internally, they call me Victor Meldrew.
You?
Yeah. Because I'm always moaning about something, right? And I've also got this thing now, and I said something. He laughs at me about it, that I feel like if someone's offended me, right? Is there a friend, right? I'm just a random people, right? But if they're a friend, I feel like I have to tell them.
Okay, that's fair.
I have to tell them, and sometimes, and it's something I kind of navigate quite carefully, but only because they are a friend, and I've got this feeling now that actually, if people don't call us out, right, and it's our friend's duty to do that, how are we ever going to know?
Yeah, right.
But this all goes back to self-reflective. Now, Sonny and I are very blessed. And Ruchi as well. So Sonny, me, and Ruchi, we're very, very blessed to have a very good relationship and actually call each other out on certain things, right? But also what happens is that being very, very self-reflective allows us to kind of think, actually, so we will be really busy. We'll look back and saying, after this week was so busy, was I productive? Right. And actually, when I ask each other that question as well, you're busy, but were you productive? And, not just in that, but in terms of things like, look, one of us might be really good at sales, but maybe one of them is our assistant said, listen, your skill set is not this. But what happens is that sometimes, and we're blessed because we have 3 of us in the business.
And 3 is a good number.
But when you have a singular person, when you're a solopreneur, you don't have that luxury. So you have to be so much more attuned to being self-reflective in terms of the decisions you're making, what you're doing, what works, what not. And it's very, very hard because people won't tell you.
Yeah.
People won't tell you saying, listen, bro, you dropped the ball here.
Yeah.
So, and that's the hard part is actually.
I remember when one of the first videos we connected on, he was one of the only people I could have these conversations with.
Yeah.
I would ask him because I was blind to what can I do better? How can I be better? Because I would look at you guys and oh my God, these guys are really successful. They're achieving great things, the things that I want to do. And it was one of the first times I could speak to someone and have those conversations. And I think you're right. It is super rare. And earlier, just to pivot, you were saying you use the word superpower, which I love because it's a new term that I've come across. I'm like, okay, I love that term. Makes it feel special. What would you say his superpower is?
Definitely people, right? And communication.
Would you agree with that?
You see, communication, really, yeah?
Yeah, as in, yeah, definitely.
What, as in him to communicate with others or him to listen to others?
Definitely him to communicate. Certainly him to communicate. You know what? He's a good listener, and he's actually a very good listener. He's not like when you're telling him he's blocking you.
No, there is that moment that I know. When you speak with him, when you've lost him because he please.
Yeah. Oh no, he's already goes on to the back of his mind. But no, he could. I think KF's superpower is very evidently known, right? He can walk into a room, he can win people over like that. Yeah. He's got this aura about him. You're never going to walk into a room and forget the conversation. Right. So, that's why he is a super networker, and he gets deals done in the sense of, he starts off relationships with people that I think, oh my God, how the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
So it's definitely, he's also, his gut decision making is very good as well.
Oh really?
Yeah, his gut decision.
Now what's one that okay, everyone disagreed with it, but he went on.
No, something it can even be about people. All right, so if we're hiring or we're looking to let someone go, or I think he's a very good judge of your character as well. So I think he's
Superman in the house, man.
Yeah, I think he will. Knocking. And there's lots of kryptonites, so okay, all right, yeah. But those are surprising. Oh, that's fair.
What about for Sonny then? What would you say?
I think with Sonny, definitely he is he's very calm and calculated and makes decisions based on logic.
Yeah.
Not emotion. Maybe that's. He's very, very good at that. He can look at he can very easily see the wood through the trees, if that's the term, right? He can look at something very analytically and say, actually, this is this, that is that. You go and look at it. And maybe I use it a lot more often through him than with anything else, because I know I'm a very emotional person.
Yeah.
I will sometimes base, decisions, judgments, everything based off emotion. Whereas, and again, because we're so close, again, he will call me out on it. It was actually, no, because of this or because of that. You shouldn't see it because of that. After I sleep on it, I might have a different view on it, right? But definitely, I think Sonny, it's funny because growing up, he was the polar opposite.
Well, he was more like you.
No. So growing up, he had he would fly off the handle like that.
Oh,
Very, very short fuse. Very, I don't know, maybe having triplets is kind of reduce this. Yeah, it's time for money. Yeah. And I think definitely for Sonny is that he has this canny ability to be very, very concise in very, very different situations and always be the voice of reason.
I hear you on that. I hear you. Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So, no, I mean, with Foundxrs and where it is now, like I said earlier, to me, I think it's a very special thing. Like there's, I don't think there's anything like it in London. I'm living in London. I don't go anywhere else, so I don't know about the rest of the country. But I don't think there's anything else like it here. What would you say makes it special?
100% of the people. We never started this to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
We knew that there were other communities, clubs, networks, before us, and we know that there will be after us as well. We're not the only ones in the market, but I think what we do, I think even from the beginning, right, when we launched this, we had a very clear chat to say, we're very similar. We're both business people. We're both entrepreneurs, but there's certain things that I like,
right,
and he doesn't care too much about, and there's certain things that he likes, which I don't care too much about. So how do we, create something? How do we create something? This was the question that we asked, right? How do we create something that both of us would want to join?
Okay, nice.
Yeah, because the thing is that even as business people, you're not going to find people who are a million miles apart. You might find 3, 4, 5 different characters who are, but there's going to be certain similarities,
right? So, what did you land on? Like that was a thing that both of you want to join, independently of.
I think there are a few different elements there. Like, so for KP, he really enjoys networking and meeting people, right? And so being in those kind of environments, was great, and obviously that's what a lot of people need to do when they're growing their businesses. For me, I've always kind of like a little bit shied away from that, and I've really enjoyed like learning, right? So if I'm listening to someone, or I'm learning something from an entrepreneur or a topic, I really enjoyed that, right? So it was a case of actually saying, look, can we combine that learning? Can we combine a club where you're always going to learn, right? Something, right? Because what you can never promise is what that networking experience is going to be like. You can ensure that you've got a really good caliber of founders in the room, right? You can create a lovely environment. What we can't control is when you attend, how many people and what conversations you're going to have, right? Because that really then ends up being into your hands, But if you say you don't meet anyone that you felt was relevant or you learned from, being in that room and just listening to that speaker or that particular topic, you should go away with, what? Wow, I learned something different today. Or that's going to change. I'm going to try and implement this. So that should be always a fundamental factor. The view that we've always had, that we speak to all of our members even before joining, is that, leave your ego at the door and come with a mindset of evolution. Because if you do that and you build relationships, which the business will always come. Right. So we're in the relationship game. Right.
Yeah.
And actually the people that have really embodied that and taken that forward in the club, I mean, you probably know some, they've done
Yeah.
some great things as collaborations.
Even for me, like, I'm not even in the room and people are recommending like one of my businesses, they'll be like, oh, speak to Kooks about this or speak to Kooks about that. Or, you see it in the chat, you see people recommending others who should speak to anyone. Can anyone recommend this? And it works, and on the socials as well.
Yeah.
Like you can tell people really like love being a part of it. What, and so let me ask you this. If someone's watching this, from all the experiences that you've had from creating Foundxrs, all the events, hundreds of events you guys have held, the millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires that the incredible people that you've got to meet. Like if someone was to do one thing immediately after this is going to help them get more business immediately, what stands out to you?
I've got my answer about what job
you're doing. Whilst he's pondering, you tell her up.
My one would definitely be, that's why I mentioned earlier about being self-reflective, is criticize yourself. And I think a lot of people, as humans, we don't do this.
Yeah.
We might wake up and say, oh, I didn't do this today, but actually really peel back the layers and really look at yourself, who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and really analyze and evaluate yourself in that. Because, we find, people, and similar to what Sonny was just saying, is that people, members might join the club and they might be great at coming in and talking to people, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a great salesperson. I mean, you're selling your business, right? The biggest problem is, I think this is implementation. There is the biggest thing.
If I get paid for that,
it's great to come in and speak and listen to one of the speakers that we put in the room. Yeah. But then if you walk away, do anything with it, and smile and say that was a great speaker, and then do nothing with it. Yeah, it's great that you had a great time, but what impact does it make? Right. So I think that is that.
How is that self-reflection immediately? If someone watches this and then immediately they start a piece of self-reflection, how is that going to then turn into them getting money in the bank and new business?
It's a really good question. So for me, it's actually, and I think this is that exercise that we did before, is writing out, sit down with a piece of paper, write down actually the 10 things, if there is 10 things, and actually push yourself to find 10 things that you're not good at.
Right.
That you don't enjoy or you're not good at. And then look at that in your business, right? In your business, maybe even personally, when I say personally, you might be, I'm not a great salesperson, or I don't like speaking to, I'm more of an introverted person, right, an extrovert, right? But look at that list and then say, right, okay, if I change even 2 or 3 of these, how will that impact my business?
Right.
Even in sales, it's great. I'm a good salesperson, but I'm a crap closer.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah?
I hear you.
Right? So we can have a small conversation. But if I'm at the end of that conversation, if I'm not asking you the question, would you like to buy?
It's not going to happen.
It's not, it's like, so write that down. And then when you look at that list and say, what can I change that's going to impact my business today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
For me, that's...
it's funny you say that. I did this exercise for my coaching program. I'm speaking to people, but something just quite wasn't working after I delivered like a session for them to buy into my program. The bridge wasn't working. So I was like, okay, let me ask my AI friend. And I said that this is the pitch, the script, what is missing? Why am I not making that leap, making that bridge? And it came up with, it seems like you're not offering options for people to take. You're just giving them a clear-cut choice. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I developed it further. I thought, let me try it in my next call. So I tried it. And I said, okay, now we've finished the conversation. There's a coaching call. You've got 3 options. You can do nothing. I can tell you about my program, or you can circle back and check with me in 3 months' time and let me know how you've got on. Always, they said, I'm definitely not doing option 1, which is do nothing. Tell me about option 2 and option 3. And now all of a sudden, I've got a bridge into that next step. And it was an instant changer. So you're right, it works. What about for you? from your time in Founders, like all the people that you've met, all the different founders, from setting up the club, building it up to where it is now, the millionaires, billionaires, incredible people that you've had lunches with. If someone's watching this immediately after this finishes and they're going to take one action and it's going to put money in their bank for their business, what would you say that could be?
Look, I would say two actions spring out to me. Number one, you've got to know where you want to go to, right? So I think most people are just kind of running their businesses with a view of like, because they're so immersed in the day-to-day tasks that they're not taking time out to actually say, right, this is where I want to get to. That's the destination. I think something that I would definitely do is I would go and speak to someone who's doing what that vision looks like and has already got there. And you would be surprised that if you're approaching people in the right way, how genuine people can be, and they will give you that free, helpful advice, right? And I think if you listen to that, you don't always have to take it as like gospel, right? But if you're able to listen to it and take the view from that, I think it will give you a much clearer picture in terms of how to then go and execute. So those are the two key things that I would say,
they're powerful things, right? If you know where you're going and then you speak to someone that's been there, that's there already, that's your cheat code, right?
Absolutely. Because they will guide you initially, right, from making some pitfalls. The thing is, and it's just about the right thing. So you don't want to go to someone who might be a smaller size where you might get to catch up to in a year because they're not going to be too forthcoming. But you go to, the right kind of people who are at a different stage in their business. You'll be surprised at actually how genuine people can be.
People want to talk about their business. They want to talk about what we choose.
And they want to help. You'll be surprised at how many entrepreneurs will actively take their time out and will help.
So look, sorry to jump in. So on that point, what's the future of Founders? What does that look like for you boys?
Shall you go? Yeah. So I think there's a few stages in Founders. First of all, that's
a strategic answer. There's a few stages in Founders.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah, correct. So we will be launching something soon where what we've done at the moment is we've created a great community, right, of founders who are helping each other. They're going through these experiences. We believe that we can take some of those founders on a really interesting journey where we can help those founders work together as teams. And we can also be a part of that and really accelerate that journey. Right. And so there is something we've been working on behind the scenes and that we will be launching soon. And getting that done and right, we would like to then also expand our presence. Dubai is definitely a location we're looking at, and a few other locations, but
global positioning now.
Absolutely. For us, it's very important to tick things off stage-wise. Can we deliver world-class events? Can we build a community that is genuinely out to help one another and work as a team? The next part of it is can we build these smaller cohorts that will really, work together and push each other, keep each other accountable. And then can we take that blueprint then to other destinations and make Founders global?
I mean, that's the one. That's a beautiful vision, a global. Because this is, to me, it can. We've talked about it. Global it makes complete sense, but conquer home first, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you this penultimate questions. Most of these like shows or podcasts that I see, they're like, if you had advice for your younger self, what would that be? Let me reposition that slightly. Like, imagine yourself 10 years from now, right? You as founders, as men, as entrepreneurs, you in 10 years from now, what is that future version saying to you today? Take your time because I can speed this up as well. Like, as the pondering stage, I can speed up.
Yeah, I think the old boy KP will probably look back and say,
what advice? Yeah, what advice would old boy KP give to KP today?
I think it would probably be implement your own advice.
Okay.
Yeah, do alone. Because I sit here and I talk a lot about what we could be doing, what we should be doing, but again, as I mentioned earlier, like we're all human.
Right.
So nobody is perfect. We're all human. And so I think it's very much about, listen to your own advice and action what is important as well.
Right. So I'm speaking to old boy KP now.
Yeah.
What's the one thing out of all of that definitely you should do? Because implement what you talk about a lot of things. You share a lot of great advice. But if there's one thing that old boy KP is going to make sure you do, force you to do, to focus on, what do you think that's going to be?
Yeah, I'll tell you. And actually, this is very different to probably what you may think, and to those nearest and dearest to me, would probably be unbelievable. But it's actually spend time with the people who make you feel good.
Okay.
Because I honestly feel, and as I'm this year I was 48. In 10 years, I'll be heading up to the better side of 60.
Right.
Granddad status. Granddad status. And I think, and I've been told many a times that there's going to come a point in our lives where we'll have things, we'll have money, we'll have, materialistic things, we'll have this and that. But the thing that we won't have is people. And, we're getting up to that time where basically some of the people that we love and we know and, will unfortunately no longer be there. Right. So I think for me, very much it is spend time with the people who just make you happy. It's not about what they can bring to you.
Just make you feel good.
It just makes your soul smile.
Right.
And actually, to be fair, it's probably what I have been doing, especially over the last couple of years, and more so, is I will just, Sunny tells me off because I will be going out and I'll have dinner with this person, that person. So it's like, what are you doing? But I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason. It just makes me feel good. That person just makes me feel good. Right. When I say feel good, it's not just the case of like you're sitting there saying, oh, you're this and you're great. And it's nothing to do with it. It's actually the fact that just enjoying that person's aura. So it's not to do with business. It's all right to do with humanity.
What I'm going to do with this, by the way, I'm going to write this out and I'm going to email you. I'm going to time it for 10 years in the future because I saw a Mr. Beast video. He made a video and he set it for 10 years in the future and he posted it. And in that video, he was saying, I just finished uni and I hope I'm a success at YouTube and I've got 1 million followers and I'm making this my full-time living. And it went live. And obviously where he is today versus 10 years ago. So that gave me the idea. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this and you're going to get an email in 10 years from me, assuming you've still got the same email address. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I would say mine's, if I'm keeping it more kind of business led, it would be
Sunny in 10 years. What is Sunny in 10 years going to say to Sunny today?
I think it would. I'm just thinking from a 2-point view, right? Okay, from a business point of view, I think definitely that
I've got so many jokes. So now try. Still being so much fried chicken.
Only one of them, yeah. I think definitely build the right team around you. In the sense where every bit of advice that we've got is like, if you want to go from here to there, you really want to start, getting the right people in the room with you on that journey that can take you there. And I think I've definitely been sitting down and kind of, not actioning that. Right?
Okay.
I think on a personal aspect, it's probably more, it'll be, I'm hoping this is what will be said, that don't stress too much about your kids,
Okay.
Yeah, it will work itself out, so I think I'm hoping this will work itself out because right now it doesn't feel like it's going to work itself out. But
You know, I hope the girls look at this and say, look at the stress they're putting in.
You know what it is that I think we've had this conversation, Kooks, right? Is that, you know, unfortunately, you know, we've had some, you know, really close friends pass away over the last couple of years, right? And I just realized that I don't want to wait until later on to fulfill anything I want to do.
Yeah,
right.
right.
So I've really made that a goal of mine. Like every year, you know, I'm spending time with people. I'm going away with people that I really like. We went away. You know, it's all of these things that I'm embedding that into my life. And I know that while sometimes I feel like, oh, you know, I'm going away too much or I'm doing this, I'm like, no, this is a core part of what I want to do and I don't want to wait.
Yeah.
So there's those bits, you know, that I think have tipped off, but there's other bits I'm like, you know, other people say just don't worry, it'll be all right. But with my girls at the moment, you know, there's worries.
Yeah, I hear you on that. But girls, this is a message to you. Look after my boy. This is my brother now. Okay. I'll
listen to it.
Yeah, I love you, girls, but I love him. You know? Take care of my boy.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you?
My 10-year?
Yeah, what about Grandpa Kooks?
Wow. 10-year Kooks. Keep going. I think that it'd be that simple. Just keep going, because there's moments I just feel like I'm falling off. And recently I don't know where it's come from, but yeah, I might, people might come at me for this, but I've just come across this kind of saying, quote, I don't know where it's come from, but it's like, no one cares how you feel. Like, it doesn't matter how you feel. Just carry on. Like, and your mental health's important, of course. Like, take care of your mental health, but on a day-to-day basis, you feel happy, you feel sad, you feel tired, you feel unmotivated, you feel like you suck, you feel like you're the best. They're feelings. But actually, none of that matters. But just carry on. Like, hit the gym. You can control that. Pick up the phone and make the phone call. Send that message. Build that part of your business. Tell that person that you love them. That's got no bearing on how you feel. I think that's just, I don't know, like, I don't know if you boys find this, but you kind of hear these things and they make some sense. Like, yeah, I agree with it, but you try and live it and it doesn't quite work. And then one day you just kind of find yourself actually living it. And I suppose that's what I would tell myself. If I'm 10 years in the future, I would tell myself to just carry on. Like just carry on turning up. Because like you said, that it just works out. And I suppose to like reinforce that, there was another quote that I came across and it said that you have survived 100% of your worst days. You got 100% track record of success. Oh shit, that's kind of deep. I will take that all day long.
Yeah.
I will take it all day long.
Life has a way of testing you.
I hear you.
There's different moments, you know, so it's, yeah, no, so, and that's why, you know, sometimes like, we know when you're saying that, on the previous question, you're saying, you know, you look at yourself sometimes and say, why am I not doing well? What can I do better? You know, and I think we all go through that, right? But also, I definitely learn to turn around and say, wow, like, look what I do have.
Right.
And I'm not talking about necessarily on a monetary aspect. I'm just saying,
like a gratitude aspect.
Like a gratitude. I'm like looking at, you know, I'll speak to someone and their kid might be sick or they might have a situation. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, that's a real difficult situation.
Right.
I might be speaking to someone who's, you know, having challenges, whatever area in life, right? And I wake up a lot and I do say, thank God I'm blessed.
Right.
And I honestly believe that.
It does change things. Like, when you do that, when you start to reflect on what you do have and versus what you don't, it does change things.
Yeah.
All right, boys, before signing off, who should I speak to next?
It's a great question. I think you should speak with. You just looking for one person?
No, both of you. I've got two of you. I want two recommendations and connections.
I mean, there's so many. I'm thinking, like, you know, he'll be good.
And I'm bringing Irish coffee next time. I'll be better prepared.
Who would be? Can I grab my phone to maybe just have a look at, so you have a quick look, actually, who, like, maybe look through my WhatsApps that I haven't even responded to.
So I'll tell you from my side, right, to people. I think there is, a great guy. You may have met him, Nick Feeney.
Yeah.
Been in business and.
Yeah, you've told me a lot about him, and I haven't spent a lot of time with him, so I think he'd be a great person.
Great
Nick,
guy.
okay.
He's, given us a lot of advice, but not just on the business aspect, but just definitely as a human being,
right?
And reading through the ups and the downs, and I've learned a lot just by spending time with him. Has been great.
All right, I'll tell you who the energy is great with also, and I don't know whether you're going to do it together or not. Is our Ruchi.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because she is very, very close to us, and equally we're very close to her, but she looks at everything through a very different lens.
It's interesting because though I've spent time with her, I don't know her in the same way that I know you boys. So I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, you know what your job is, yeah? Make it happen, make the introduction.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
All right, boys, on that note, I love you both. Thank you for being here with me. And I don't know how to sign this thing off, but this was the next one.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah.
So thank you for having us.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Before you go, can I ask you for a favor? If you like the show, you like what I'm doing here, and you want to support me, the free, simple way that you can do that is just by hitting the subscribe button. My commitment to you, if you do that, is that I'll do everything in my power to make sure that this show is better than the last one. Every single time. I'll listen to your feedback, I'll find the guest that you want me to speak to,